we get there, and I was like, the coolest thing, like, dude, I'm gonna be in the game's music video. He wanted me to bring the Heisman, so I had that trophy. So we get there, and we're on the lot, and we're in a motorhome. We're in a camper, kind of like this, like his trailer essentially. And I'm walking, I'm holding the Heisman. Dr. Dre is just walking right towards me, and Dre just says, "What's up?" Like, super chill. "What's up, Matt?" Like, whatever. And then that was it. It was like just super casual. I was like, dude, that's freaking Dre. Then we go in the camper, and it's like, it was the game. It was like his posse. And I'll tell you what, man, there was it was like just smoke everywhere. And I'm like, holy crap, man, what am I doing right now?
Folks, before we start this episode, if you could do one thing, would you please hit that subscribe button? It really helps us out. We'll kick those tires and start that fake fire. It is time to camp. Today, we welcome a quarterbacking legend, and not coincidentally, my twin. Of course, this man's athletic prowess is exceeded only by his good looks. Please welcome to the campfire a historic, powerful Trojan, the one, the only, Matt Leinart.
that was so like that was awesome, dude.
That's what I do.
mean, could you have got me a bigger chair, just something? I do have bad legs, dude. So,
as a wise man once said, it is not the size of one's chair that matters, but in fact how you sit in it. So,
okay. I feel like I'm going to break this thing.
So, yes, we have not worked out logistically how we'll be handling our future NFL and
guys
NBA players.
6'4" and above.
That's right.
We need it. Now,
That's
this
right.
is cool, man. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. So when LeBron, we are working on it. We're gonna get it. We'll get it ready for you. Dude, thanks for being here. This is so random because the last time we met was at some sort of it was probably a study group, right?
Yeah, in the library.
Yeah, we were studying in the library, I remember, and it was a lot of deep literary discussions, right?
Yeah, it was good. It was I was at USC for 5 years. I went to the library probably 3 times, and one of those times was hanging out with you. So,
That's right.
Yeah.
Now I have to ask. So you have won a Heisman Trophy. I mean, this is an amazing honor, right? But I'm assuming that you would probably say that being on this show is an honor probably equivalent to that, right?
Listen, I've accomplished a few things in my day. Met a lot of cool people, traveled the world. I have to say, being on your podcast in this camping with you with the fake fire, tops the list of anything I've ever accomplished.
That's right.
I am honored to sit next to you.
That's right. Well,
I really am. No, I'm being dead serious. I really am.
I'm honored by your honor. I'm honored by your honoring. And the fact is too, so I have to say, I have a love-hate relationship with you over the years because there were several girls that I had crushes on at USC that would seem to gravitate towards me, but it would still only be a platonic relationship, and they expressed no romantic inclinations. And I couldn't figure out what it was. And then I had a girl that I was very close friends with from UCLA. Sorry.
My wife went to UCLA. It's fine.
Okay, we'll address that later in therapy. And I remember she got me this Argyle sweater, and she gave it to me for my birthday. And she says, "You need to wear this." And I was like, "Why?" She's like, "You kind of look like Matt Leinart, and this will help you so much."
This was your friend or your girlfriend?
My friend. No, friend. She gave me
if a girlfriend buys me an Argyle sweater, I'm probably breaking up with her.
Yeah. No, she got me an Argyle sweater because you had this similar sweater you were wearing at SC.
Maybe.
I know it all blends together, amidst all the studying. But
There's a lot of foggy memories, man. A lot of foggy memories.
But so she got me this. She said, "You're going to look like Matt Leinart." And I said, "Is that a good?" She's like, "Oh, it's a very good thing." I was like, and she went to UCLA, so she was actively rooting against you. But
I'm kind of naturally your wingman, essentially.
Right.
It's not my fault you can't close the deal. I'm a great wingman. Sure.
I want to go out at a bar with you at 6'5" and all your, Heisman glory. That'll be really fun. Man. And then one time I was offered half off rent at a apartment. The guy says, "Hey, are you Matt Leinart?" And I said, "Why?" And he goes, "Well, if you want to live here, I could arrange a discount for you." And I said,
"That's pretty cool.
I'm not Matt Leinart." And he goes,
"You should have said we were brothers or something. Family discount."
Yeah, I'm Dan Leinart. I'm Dan Leinart, rowing team.
Oh,
I know.
Well, I'm glad I could help you back in the day, man.
Absolutely. Well, you did, and so yeah, I was a little jealous, but also you And also, here's the last thing I'm going to say. You made games really boring. Like, we were playing Arkansas, and it was like 41-0 in the first quarter, and I was kind of bored because I had tailgated all day and was ready for it. And you guys had kind of ended the game early, you know?
Let me tell you something. You'd rather have it that way than losing a whole bunch of games.
Yeah.
And not wanting to go to the game.
That's true.
You know what I mean?
Oh, I remember that. And but, you know, you gave it back to me with Fresno State. You know, and
there was quite a few games over kind of that period that were a lot closer. Arizona State, well, not at home, but that was on the road. Fresno State at home. There were a couple that were a lot closer than we would have liked. Notre Dame, obviously. We were just talking about the Bush push a little while ago.
Give the fans what they want, though, right?
Yeah.
Oh, that was great.
Listen, we had no problem beating teams by 30 points. Get in, get out.
It was amazing. Watch the squeaking too. I know this chair is very small.
Oh, my bad.
But, you squeak a lot. All right, we're going to take things a little different this time. We're going to just jump right in. Let's just go for it. Let's talk about the NFL. Okay. You actually, in our earlier discussion, you said, you know, hey, I have some thoughts on this is why things didn't work out as I thought it might have in the NFL. So, what happened, Matt Leinart, NFL?
There's a couple things that I know exactly what happened. One, like injuries really kind of derailed me a few times in my career. That happens for everybody. There's players, there's quarterbacks that can go through a whole career and never get hurt once or deal with minor injuries. I broke my shoulder, I broke my collarbone my second year, out the rest of the season. That's when Kurt Warner took over. He went to the Super Bowl. So I lost my job to him. Hall of Famer, is what it is. So it was just like right when I was feeling good, boom, I'm out. Then 2 years later, I'm in Houston. Matt Schaub, good friend of mine, goes down. He was our starter. I go in, and we have a playoff team. It was J.J. Watt's rookie year, Arian Foster, Andre Johnson. I mean, we had a great team. I go in at Jacksonville, get my first start that year, and I felt as good as I felt coming out of college, just because the confidence was bad. Gary Kubiak, my coach, is there, and I broke my collarbone again, same arm, in the second quarter after I was playing really well. And that was it. I played one more year after that. I was in Oakland, actually with Carson Palmer, which was pretty cool. But I just was mentally drained. I was just like, man, I'm tired of dealing with this stuff. My chance, like you only get so many opportunities at that level, whether they're in your control or not. So injuries definitely played a part of, I think, I was just losing hope. I was losing confidence. I was over it. My older son now is 15. I wanted to get back to him. I wanted to see him more. So that was one thing. Another thing, coaching makes all the world of a difference in the NFL, especially at the quarterback position. If you go to an organization and a coach that believes in you, that understands your strengths, understands your weaknesses, puts you in the best position to be successful, a lot of times you're going to have a lot of success in your career. I can name a ton of quarterbacks who went into the right system at the right time and they flourished. I can name a lot of quarterbacks, including myself. And I was drafted by Denny Green, who passed away. God bless him. I love that man. But then another coach came in and it just wasn't a great fit. So those are two things. And I've said that openly and publicly. But the other thing, those are things that, like, you know, sometimes are out of your control. The thing that I could have controlled and I didn't was, I don't want to say how hard I worked, because I did work hard. You could ask any one of my teammates, no matter what team I was on in the locker room, I got along with everybody. Like, I had everybody. Like, it's just my personality. Looking back, I don't think I ever loved football the way that I needed to love football to be the best I could be at that level. Does that make sense? Like in college, like I never played football growing up. I was a baseball player. I played flag football. I played 1 year of tackle at high school football at Mater Dei, which is a great program, as a freshman. Then I tore my shoulder. So I was out a year and a half of sports in high school because of baseball. So I had 1 year of tackle football experience before I ended up playing on varsity at Mater Dei. So then I played in that, and I started getting recruited because I was a big kid. I could throw the ball a little bit. And then obviously going to USC. But I look at like Tom Brady, who's the GOAT, and it's, you can't compare, but all these guys, like, you know, football was like ingrained in them they just love football. That was their first love. It was never my first love. And I just think now as I'm older, I'm like, I didn't eat, sleep, breathe football at the NFL position, at the NFL level. I studied, I wanted to be good, but it is really hard at that position. There's a lot of things that have to go your way, some of the things I talked about, but also you have to prepare. It's a 365-day-year job. And I didn't have that in me. I really didn't. And I learned that as I got older. I'm like, I really didn't. And I love the game. I love playing. I love all those things, but I wasn't in love like I should have been to be able to have the career that I really hoped I could have had. And I've said that too. It's just, it just wasn't like, I love baseball to this day more than anything. My career got cut short because of injuries. So I'm grateful for my experience. Like, obviously USC had a ton of success. Had a lot of great players around me. And I loved playing there because it was, I wouldn't say it was easy, but it was easy. Like we had great coaching, great players. We were on that great run. So it all kind of fell perfectly in my lap as far as that. And then I got to the NFL and I was like, oh crap. Like I got to put in even more work. I got to do this. So, it's one of those things. Like, do I regret it? Probably. Like, gosh, yeah. Like, but I also like, I can't force if I just love something, you know what I mean? Like I didn't want to force it. And that's something as I've gotten older, I've realized like, I'm okay with how it went down. 7 years, I had great friendships. I made good money. It's opened up a lot of doors for me. The job that I have now, like it's just
sitting in this bus.
I mean, I never thought this day would come, but it came.
That's right.
So yeah, man, but it's,
so do you feel, so to be fair, the moniker that, Matt Leinart, kind of party boy, doesn't really work hard. You feel that's an unfair characterization?
I think like that. I think it's BS because, like, even in college, like, yeah, we were living the life pretty well, but like, I had school every day. We had practice every day. Like, it's not like yeah, people know where like USC is like in downtown. Like Hollywood and all this, like that was like a 45-minute bus ride or car. It's not like we went out all the time. We just like
we didn't have Uber, remember?
We didn't. We would
campus cruiser.
How did we even get there? I don't even remember.
We rode the bus as they did in days of yore.
Yeah, we
dash bus, bro.
So yeah, so like, do we party? Like we partied as normal as any other kid on any other campus. We just happened to be in the Mecca of LA. So, and we befriended a lot of famous people that were just all our age and partying and hanging out. So it wasn't like, I always laughed at that. I'm like, yeah, I mean, like you get photographed, or that was right the turn of kind of social media, like my first year in the NFL, which burned me for stupid reasons. But that was kind of when it started shifting. It's like, oh, people got to be kind of careful if you go out now. But we were normal. We were kind of living the normal life for what was presented to us in LA. Arizona, I probably like I said, I probably should have focused more on my craft in the off season and all of those things. Looking back, for sure, I'd be the first to admit that. But to say that I was like worse than anybody else who's going out and being a normal kid, I think that's unfair. It's just you're a quarterback and you're the face of a franchise. Yeah, you need to act like that year round, and that was just something that, before I kind of realized that it was too late.
No, and you see quarterbacks I'm a Chargers fan. I loved watch Phillip Rivers. Like that man, I remember he played in the semi-finals and he had like 4 broken ribs and you couldn't pull him out. I've seen other quarterbacks, I won't name names, paid a lot of money, go out with like a paper cut. Yeah. And like Phillip Rivers loved football more than anything. And so, yeah, and it's similar to Tiger too, when it's like Tiger, Brady, they just have this almost crazy divine like just dedication to their craft. And if it's not, it has to probably start there.
And don't get me wrong, like I am as competitive as you'll find. I love winning, I love working out, I love those things. I just that is like it's the pinnacle, and being a quarterback in the NFL is freaking hard. It's hard to be successful. It's hard, and you have to have talent, but you also have the mental capacity, the strength, and then the tenacity in your preparation, which is just something that I fell short of. And then when you become a backup, it's challenging. And any backup quarterback will tell you, like, dude, it is like you're grinding like you're the starter, but you're not participating. Yeah. And you better, and now granted, you're making good money. There's no excuses, all those things, but you are one play away from being the guy on a team that they're counting on you. And again, like I didn't prepare. At the time I was like, okay, I'm studying. I know I was smart. I was naturally smart. Like my mental strength was a strength of my game. So I just felt like, oh, that's how it was at USC. I can kind of get by in the NFL. I'll study. I'll do what it takes. And then it just was like, it's just, you're in for a rude awakening if you have that approach.
So let me get this straight. You had one season of tackle football and then would go on to become a Heisman Trophy winner?
Well, I played at Mater Dei. So
that's a great
part
school.
of my junior year, and then part meaning I was splitting time with another player, and then my senior year. So I mean, but going into I play freshman football now. I was like, it's not a joke, but like it was pretty easy. Like that was my first ever tackle football experience, and then I was hurt for like, my shoulder was torn. I had major surgery, so I was out for over a year and a half. So I missed all sophomore year, didn't play anything, rehab, everything, and then finally the summer before junior is when I got junior cleared to throw. So that was like 7-on-7 tournaments and all that for Mater Dei, and even then I was like still really raw. Like I had 1 year of playing tackle football. So and even at USC, like I redshirted my first year. The second year I kind of backed up with Matt Carson, and then I ended up kind of having like an epiphany moment and just like kind of getting I don't know if we can cuss on this thing, but just getting my shit together and being like, hey, I have an opportunity to start at USC, like let's go. And I did.
Walk me through your recruiting process, because I remember that I was same thing. I was 6'5", 275, 280, so they didn't know anything about me. I just get pamphlets like just dropped off right from every school, and it was the coolest thing. And then the coaches show up, and you feel like such hot shit. So I'll cuss with you.
The recruiting process, it's so different now. Got to see these kids, like the announcements on TV, all the social media stuff that's like taking over. It was really cool to get letters in the mail, right? Yeah. And the letter didn't mean anything other than like, we're recruiting you, or they weren't even recruiting. They just would send, like, because I had schools. I remember getting a letter from Miami, and I thought that was the coolest thing because that was probably 2000. They had, those teams were just unreal. I think Ken Dorsey, those 2000 2001 teams, some of the best, if not the best of all time in college. And they didn't even recruit me. They never offered me a scholarship, but they would send me letters. But I remember getting to Miami, like, dude, this is getting Miami. I'm getting recruited by Miami. This is awesome. They never offered me a scholarship. Didn't really recruit me. But you start to play, you do some camps, and then those letters start going. And my first offer was, I think it was USC actually, and Kennedy Pola. Kennedy Pola recruited me. Great coach. He was our running back coach there. He had went to Mater Dei. So he came to a game my junior year, and I played great that game. And nice. that was like right after that I got my first offer from USC, which was, at the time I was like, oh, this is awesome. USC sucked at the time. Yeah, they were horrible, and I was like, this is cool, like down the street, whatever. And then, like in anything, it's just kind of like a domino. You start to play, your name gets out there a little bit, and then I started getting recruited. It was really cool. I did the Elite 11 quarterback camp. That's a 4-day spectacle, but I did that with no cameras around. We did that, and that was fun. So that kind of, boosted your recruiting profile. And then, and then I committed. So going into my junior year, the summer, that's the Elite 11 camp. And then by that time, I was getting recruited pretty heavily by all the Pac-10, at the time, the Pac-10, Pac-12 schools. Ohio State was recruiting me, Georgia Tech, Wisconsin, a handful of teams in the Big Ten. And that was it. But there were probably like 15, 20 schools. Michigan was a big one. So fast forward, I was torn between USC when Paul Hackett was there. Yeah. And Michigan.
Oh, so Paul recruited you.
Kennedy Pola was on his staff. Oh, okay. Stayed with Pete because Kennedy was great. Hugh Jackson, don't know if you know Hugh. Yeah. Hugh recruited me. He was the coordinator, quarterbacks coach, or the coordinator. So I was really close to going to Michigan. Like, I'm telling you, like, it was almost like flip a coin. And the reason why was my best friend, still to this day, his brother was playing football there. And they wouldn't offer me a scholarship unless they saw me throw in person. So I went to their 4-day camp. Michigan has one of the bigger camps every year. And long story short, we go out there, we stay in the dorms, and I throw in the big house, which is cool, really cool at the time. And Lloyd Carr, who's the coach, he offered me a scholarship in his office that week. And I remember calling my mom. My mom was like in tears, like didn't want me to leave. Like I was really like kind of like blinded by just like I had so much fun there. I want to go to Michigan. They were great in football, you know, like
you had a big jacket ready.
Yeah, great winners there. Really was what I was excited about. And anyways, I ended up committing to USC.
What turned what
I just wanted to stay home. Like deep down, I was like, I want to stay home, and I committed to USC when they weren't very good.
No, didn't Paul Hackett say upon his exit, like this next team is going to be like dominant?
Well, the thing about those teams, like they had a ton of talent. It was coaching. It just wasn't. They couldn't get the most. I mean, Carson is great. They had great receivers. They had so much talent. It just wasn't. It wasn't working. It wasn't coming together.
Was Paul let go when you came in, or had he?
So I commit there. My senior year, he gets fired that year. Pete comes in. And I remember, like, who's SC going to hire? I open up my commitment process because I was like, I don't know who they're going to hire. So Pete does his press conference. I'm like, who is this dude? Like, no one knew who Pete was. Pete was like the 4th or 5th candidate. Yeah. They didn't want him. I mean, they settled for him.
Yeah.
Go figure, right? And anyways, so Pete goes, so they wanted to retain the commits they had. And we had, in that class, I was probably one of the bigger recruits, but Sean Cody was the biggest recruit. He was the number 1 player in the country. So they were like, we need to keep Sean. And Sean was fantastic, obviously. So they wanted to keep the class intact, at least the recruits they had already. So they hired Norm Chow, which was a massive selling point for me because of his experience at BYU, coached Heisman winners, great quarterbacks there, the West Coast offense, which was really what fit my style. At the time, obviously, a young Steve Sarkisian, a young Lane Kiffin, like just I'm talking like an all-world staff.
Yeah.
And some of the best coaches. Ed Ogeron, like, was our D-line coach. So that was the selling point for me to stay because of Norm. And then Pete, as you would know, like you see in interviews, he just had this just innate ability to just, like I always saw, like he could sell ice to an Eskimo. Like he could literally be like, hey, you need this, even though I don't need it. Like he was such a great recruiter, and you believed every word he said, and he was authentic, and that's just how he was. So that's kind of how it was down. Oklahoma was back in the mix a little bit when I opened up my recruitment, but it was always like I wanted to stay close to home, and USC just felt like the right place.
Man, I didn't realize all that. That is so interesting. So. Tell me, so you mentioned in our earlier conversation too that you were chubby growing up and a little cross-eyed, actually, right?
I wasn't chubby, I was obese.
Okay.
There's a difference. I know you're trying to be nice, but it was like, you could pull up some pictures.
You've come a ways. So, you're doing all right now. So relatively little football experience, inordinately overweight, and little cross-eyed, and yet you go on to become sort of this like iconic, Playboy quarterback, Heisman champion at USC.
So funny, man.
I mean, so how does that transformation happen?
I don't know. It's funny. It's both my parents, like my mom is 5'7", my dad's 5'11", my brother's 6 feet, I'm 6'5". Like it just, and there's no height in any of my extended family. So I was always tall and I was big when I was little. I was always the tallest kid in my class. But I just started growing this way, and I was also born cross-eyed. So I was born with strabismus, which is basically you're born cross-eyed. So my left eye, when I got tired and lazy, it would turn in. So to fix that, I had a surgery when I was 1.5 that I don't remember, obviously. And then I also had a surgery the summer before high school, which I remember. So I had 2. In that time, I wore thick bifocals, like old school nasty bifocals, and my vision was fine. It would correct my eye, so I had to keep my eyes straight. But I hated wearing them. And on top of that, then I was starting to get bigger. So like the years from fourth grade to sixth grade were awful those 3 years were the biggest. Now I was still growing tall, but I was like equally growing. Like,
so you could have played O-line or quarterback.
I was a quarterback for my flag team, and I looked like I looked like I was a 300-pound quarterback.
You could have been Ben Roethlisberger. Like you could have been like.
Oh, I was way bigger than Ben, and Ben's a big dude. Okay. So anyway, really, honestly, and I've talked about that too. Like, obviously, bowling is a big issue in youth today and all that. And I got bullied like to tears. I got bullied by my brother's friends. I got like made fun of all the time. I hated taking my shirt off if I had to change for like PE. Like all of those things. Like I was super insecure. And I just the thing that helped me and like save is probably dramatic, but it really saved me from that was sports. I was really good I was a great athlete for being a big kid. I was a really good baseball player. I could play basketball. Sports was my outlet, It was just where I could go. I was like maybe one of the better players on all my teams, so like I fit in that way. But God, I always think like, shit, man, if I didn't have that, like, man, I don't know what would have happened. So anyway, I started just skyrocketing and sprouting. So like I was almost 6'3" in 8th grade. And I went from 6th grade. I'll never forget. I'll tell you this. I know this is how insecure I was. I know exactly what I weighed every single year from 4th grade to 8th grade, because one day a year we did our physicals. I went to St. John the Baptist, a little private school in Costa Mesa. And we had to get, like, you did an exam, your eyes, your height, your weight, whatever. And I was always so embarrassed to get my weight. I know, I'll swear, I gained like 12 pounds. I was 144 in 4th grade. I was 156 in 5th grade. I was 168. I was 178. And then I was 188 in 8th grade. I'll never forget those numbers because I was so scared to death to step on the scale. It was crazy. Now, every year I got taller and taller. If you think about it, 160 pounds in 5th grade is a lot. That's a big kid.
Dude, I was
maybe 5th grade, 5'6", 5'7". Like I was tall, but I was big. I'll show you pictures, Bro,
I don't want to one up you on this a little bit because I mean you have
Were
a Heisman.
You a big kid?
I was 205 in 5th grade. I was 6'4".
Dude, look at you now, man.
Dude, it's the TM gear. It's got a slimming effect. Did you notice that?
I didn't realize that you were that. So we have.
I was a massive kid, and I remember too because I was totally insecure. But I remember my friend and I had a contest to see who, because we were at like 198. Like, let's just lean into it. Who can hit 200? Who can? And
I would have been going the other way. Like, God, could I go to 190?
No, then I sprouted up. I was 6'4" in 8th grade because I was 5'11" in 5th grade. I was giant.
Oh, so you were giant.
So when I went and saw football, and they're like, this is the sport for you. And they're like, what position you're like? We know exactly where you're going to play, right?
You're going to play right guard.
Yeah. And actually, I was a center. Our team liked to have a tall guy who could lean, which I hated because they put a nose guard in front of you, like a Sean Coate, who would just be like impossible
you just
be screwed.
You get bull
But no, I totally relate with that. And actually, that I was going to ask you. So that insecurity that is formed there, for me personally, like I was the same thing. I mean, you're like reading my gospel. Like I was terrified to take my shirt off. No matter how lean or in shape I got, I never could see my. And so when I got
to body dysmorphia, right? Like even if you have a six pack, I still have a little bit of it today. And my wife is like, "What is wrong with you?" I'm like, "Dude, like honestly, I'm not insecure today because as you get older, you just like I really just don't care anymore. Like I got 3 kids. I had a great profession, but like it's still in my mind. It's like, gosh, it's constantly trying to remind myself like you're great how you look, man. And it's something that kids really battle today.
Oh, it's awful too, and everyone's
it's awful. It's horrible.
Everyone's
especially with social media too. Like,
oh yeah,
it's in your face all the time, and all of these Instagram models and fitness and all that. It's like that's what I need to look like. No, that's not. Like you need to look how you feel, and you feel good. Who gives a shit what you look like? So that's a work in progress, though.
When I got to USC, and of course, people sometimes mistook me for diet Matt Leinart. I started getting some attention from some girls, and I remember it wouldn't register with me. So I actually got into trouble. Like I'd be like, "Hey, let's hang out," and I think we're friends because all I'd ever known is platonic affection, and I'd never had a girl like be interested in me because on my head I was still this really overweight kid. Right. So walk me through so you have an insecure kid who's measuring his weight each year, and now he's like at SC and like just all the the hype and the mystique, and it's basically our NFL team before the Rams got there, right? And it's like, let me ask this: does that insecurity affect you when suddenly? How does your mental space change when suddenly you have all this attention thrust on you?
Good question. That kind of changed gradually. Like, the insecurity was probably always there in the back of my mind, but going to modern day high school, and again, that's where I really sprouted. So I was like 6'4", going into high school. I was really skinny. Then I was like skinny fat. I was like, dude, got to put some freaking muscle on. So then the body started changing a little bit. You started getting a little more confidence. You're playing, like, you're past those middle school years and those elementary years, which were really rough. So I started transitioning in that, like, hey, like, I'm pretty good in football. Like, I have a lot of cool friends. Like, I have a girlfriend. Like, so it just started shifting where I didn't know what was about to happen at USC, clearly. But, like, I always laugh, like, you kind of grow out of that. Like, you go through puberty, which can be rough for people. And then you kind of like sprout. My mom, she used to always, she called me like the ugly duckling that kind of what turned into like the beautiful swan or whatever the story is. So
your mom
she just my mom passed away, but she was just like, she's like, I promise you one day you're gonna grow out of this and everyone's gonna be laughing. Like, she was the best. But yeah, I think with a USC, it's all about confidence. I had a ton of confidence there when I started playing. That was it, man. It can overwhelm you a little bit, like the attention and all of, the accolades, the attention, like you get pulled in every single direction. I will say this, it felt, and it's not being conceited or anything, it just felt very normal. Like, that was a very normal life for us. Not just me, Reggie, Linda, everyone on that team. It was just a normal life that we were living. Now you look back and you're like, that was not a normal life, but that's all we knew. You know what I mean? So it was, modern day prepared me for that, because modern day is run very much like a college and in a professional program. So it prepared me mentally to kind of be able to handle that kind of stuff. But yeah, it kind of just was a slow transformation.
Do you have any crazy celebrity stories from that time?
Oh my gosh, man!
That are past the statute of limitations, I believe, is 7 years. So you don't.
Well, I was telling you before, so I'll tell you this one. I mean, I'll tell you this one, and I'll tell you just random. So the year right after I won the Heisman, so I won in 04, that off season. So I came back for my senior year. I got asked to be in, and this is why this reminds me a little bit. I got asked to be in The Game's music video. He's a rapper. So he was a big SC fan at the time, went to the games, whatever. And he was filming his music video, I believe, on the Sony lot in Culver City. So I take two of my old teammates, and we go. And I remember, like, honestly, the first thing I was saying was like, hey, like, what do I wear? What color do I wear? Like, like
cardinal gold.
Yeah, like, do I wear neutral? Like, I don't know, like, it was like a crazy kind of time back then. So I'm like, I think I wore black and gray. I think I wore a black tee and like blue jeans. We get there, and I was like, the coolest thing, like, dude, I'm gonna be in the Game's music video. He wanted me to bring the Heisman, so I had that trophy. So we get there, and we're on the lot, and we're in a motorhome. We're in a camper, kind of like this, like his trailer essentially. And I'm walking, I'm holding the Heisman. Dr. Dre is just walking right towards me. And I'm like, dude, that's Dr. Dre. It was like the coolest thing ever. And like, I love hip hop still. Like, it was cool. And then that halftime performance was epic, obviously. And Dre just says, what's up? Like, super chill. What's up, man? Like, whatever. And then that was it. It was like just super casual. I was like, dude, that's freaking Dre. Then we go in the camper, and it's like, it was The Game. It was like his posse. And I'll tell you what, man, there was like it was like just smoke everywhere. And I'm like, holy crap, man, what am I doing right now? Put the Heisman on the table, and we're sitting in The Game's trailer with The Game, and there's another couple artists there. I forget who they were at the time. And he's just asking me all these stories about the Heisman. We're like taking pictures. And by the way, I'm getting high just talking to him because it's just smoke everywhere. So we're in there probably for an hour. Then we go to the music video, and in the video, I'm wearing a gray hoodie, and I'm like coming out of fog, and the Heisman is there, and it was the song Dreams, which is one of his great songs. And it was me, it was Serena Williams, it was Baron Davis, it was a boxer at the time. I was there with Baron. I think Serena was there another time, but we were all in this. So it was all Dreams, making it professionally, like the top of your sport, whatever. Long story short, I never made the video. He cut me out. I think it was just edited, and I didn't. If you watch that video, Serena's in it, whatever. That was just a cool story, man. It was just like, holy crap, like this is like you kind of feel like I made it, like I'm hanging out. And at the time I was just like, what's up? And they were like talking to me like they loved USC football. So just random stuff. So like, God, I mean, there's so many. I went to Johnny Depp's daughter's birthday party at his house in LA, brought my 2-year-old son. We hung out like this, just as like friends.
By a campfire?
By a campfire. A campfire by his pool, which
that's pretty cool.
And then Nick Lachey, like those stories are out there.
I met him at a USC
So
game.
Nick's like one of my best friends. He sang at my wedding. Actually sang a couple incredible songs. A song that my wife's best friend wrote for us, our first dance. Nick sang that. And then he also did a little montage of my mom who passed and my wife's dad had passed, like a 2-song little medley of their favorite songs, and we danced to that with my mother-in-law and then with my dad. So anyway, so people joke, but like Nick is literally one of my best friends. Dude, but in that time, like we were like, dude, I go to his house and there's just like we're playing cornhole and there's just like Justin Timberlake and there's people there, and it was just like a normal backdoor barbecue, like backyard barbecue.
That is so fun. I was at an SC game. And I saw Nick come out, and the girl I was dating at the time was a massive Nick Lachey fan. So I walked up to him, and all I had was a napkin from the hot dog I had. And I was like, hey, can you sign this for my girlfriend? And he's like, sure. I was kind of weird. I was like, what's this dude coming up for, right? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, it's not for me. He's like, right. He's like, who do I make it out for? He's like, not my name, right? And put in there, and he was super friendly.
If you need a signed poster, man, I got you.
Well, I got to be honest. So this is a controversial opinion, but do you know my favorite Nick Lachey performance? This is really inside
performance?
Baseball. Yeah, like just like his song, like so with 98 Degrees.
Your favorite song in 98 Degrees?
Is
Una Noche?
No, is actually True to Your Heart from the Mulan soundtrack with Stevie Wonder. It's fantastic.
The fact that you know that and I don't know that's sad, dude.
Oh,
you need to get
Stevie plays his harmonica, and it's one of my favorite songs. So let him know I said that. Yeah. If he disagrees, he can come correct the record.
Is my high school girlfriend, like, so 98 Degrees, that was like the whole boy band era. It was like NSYNC, them, and Backstreet Boys, and she had a 98 Degrees poster on her wall. Like I was 16, she was 15, like, you know what I mean? And to this day, I still joke. I'm like, dude, like, I used to see you all the time when I was in high school on her wall. But gosh, man, like we just like we were like at that time. You got to think there was no NFL team, as you said. The Lakers had just won with Shaq and Kobe. And then I think Shaq had left, so it was they kind of had a couple of down years there. The Dodgers weren't great then. The Kings weren't winning. Like we were like the ticket, you know, like we were the ticket of the town and the talk of the town. So everyone came out. I mean, you know, Will Ferrell became a good friend. We had all those people in our locker room on our sideline. Snoop, who I love, came out a bunch to practice and would run routes and hang out and rap for our team. We would have this sickest table in Hollywood nightclub next to A-list celebrities, you know, but we were treated like A-list celebrities, you know. So it was, I'm telling you, in the moment, and I bet every single one of my teammates would say that's just what it was. That's what our life was. We were also worked our ass off, and we also always showed up on game day, obviously. Like we knew like we could do that, have fun and hobnob and be a part of our college life, but we also knew like, and that was what Pete was great at. Pete loved that stuff, but he demanded a lot from us. So like that's why like we could handle all that, because that's all we knew was normal life for us, which is
in a nutshell. What made Pete so good? If you could really boil it down, what makes Pete Carroll such a good coach?
He was an excellent he's an excellent motivator. It takes more to being a motivator, but he was an excellent motivator. He was an excellent teacher, and he had a way of getting the most out of you without being a drill sergeant or without being a pushover. He had that great balance of like he would laugh and play and be in practice and freaking like get tackled and throw 7-on-7, but like he also like, and so he like breeded that. I always tell everyone like that culture, like it was fun, but like we worked, man. Like if you didn't work, you were out. Because his whole thing was like, I don't care if you're a senior or you're a freshman. A lot of freshmen didn't play at that time. Now they come in and they play because just kids are built different these days. But he preached competition. So like you just were always like, you were always prepared and always ready to give your best. But like I just his way of teaching, man, because I've played with I played for tons of coaches that they just didn't relate. They would get on you. You just never lost. I never lost that confidence with Pete. And so he was just an excellent communicator, teacher, motivator, and he made it fun. Like he made going to practice and playing fun, which a lot of coaches don't.
So it was well known at the time that Pete loved to prank and play jokes. Do you remember a couple or pranks that stood out from practice that were fun?
It actually ended up, it was kind of, the only one I remember, he would prank all the time. The one I remember was he had an inflatable Lendell White doll, which it's probably not, probably shouldn't talk about it because it was, the prank now is viewed in society, but it was a whole Lendell, he and Lendell faked a massive fight on the field.
I remember hearing about that.
Like Lendell, like MF you Pete, like Pete was like, dude, just dive into it. MF me. I'm not gonna say that on this podcast. Like just go all in. F you, coach. I ain't playing for you no more. And Lendell was awesome, man. Lendell, like he was just a rare dude. And so we're all like, everyone's kind of like, at that time there were so many pranks where like you just didn't, it was in the middle of a practice. Like he acted like he was pissed off. So he just runs, and then I won't even get into the rest of it. I don't think that's appropriate to talk about, but it was part of the joke, and then there was more to it than that. But that was one that I remember. There were so many.
He had Will Ferrell come in and speak to you guys.
Well, those weren't like pranks, but he had Will come in. Snoop would come in and rap. He just loved it, man. He like that. And that was the thing. Like he kept things light and fun and interesting and like on your toes, and it just and I'll say this about him, man, and even to this day, he was the same dude every single day. I think that's the one thing I really respected about him. He was high on Mountain Dew. That was his drink. He'd have about 12 Mountain Dews a day, and he was that personality. Even now in his, I think, early 70s, is the same personality. He never showed up to practice. I just don't have it today. That's what makes him very special and unique as a coach.
That's amazing. All right, so as the campfire dims a little bit and we have to eventually a fourth quarter. It's not 2-minute warning, but we're getting near. It's time for
the fourth quarter.
Hurry up offense now. All right. So just want to make sure what's your hard stop? We want to get you out.
We got time.
Okay. Well, all right. So
I go a little long-winded. I'm sorry.
Oh, you are my twin.
Yeah.
Right. So everything from where you're sitting now,
mm-hmm.
What would you say to Matt Leinart? I love asking, like 10 years ago, maybe 20 years ago, various stages. Like, are there some things now that you're like, gosh, I wish I knew this and understood this back then?
One thing, I love that question. I think one thing that always stands out is like, and I've learned this in my job now as a broadcaster, and as you get older and just more mature, I feel like I probably didn't respect people enough when I made it. And I think respect is just, and I tell my older son all the time, man, you respect your, the trash man that picks up our trash every day, to your father, to your mother, to your sister, your brother, to your teacher, to your friend, everybody. Like I just think it's so valuable. And I go back now and I'm like, God, I wonder how many people looked at me. And again, I wasn't a bad guy, but like, I was the top of the world coming out of USC, had a lot of money being thrown my way, a lot of endorsements and a lot of people. And I just remember like someday I don't want to do that. Someday, like kind of like not a prima donna, but like kind of high maintenance, you know? And I wish I could go back and be like what the hell, like what made you think you were better than everybody else? I was just a young kid, you know, immature and a young kid. And it wasn't everybody. It was just things. I'm just like, and I listen, when I stopped playing the NFL and I got hurt and I was back, it started coming to me like, hey, dude, like you need to start like, it's just like you need to start kind of flipping your tune a little bit. And like, this is a job. People like, you need to start treating people very like well. So now when I'm here, I'm like and it's genuine. I'm like, I respect God, like and especially my profession, like from our camera guy to our graphics team to our highlight guy that I'll probably never meet because they sit up in the 6th floor and they just cut highlights. Like everyone has a job and everyone is doing their job to make me look good on TV for my job. It took me a long time to realize like the respect you need to have for everybody that does their job, and it doesn't matter what they do, but that's what they do and that's how they make a living, all those things. So that's just something that always stands out to me, is like, you know, I don't know if that affected my play or anything other than that. It's just like being like, and then now in the world we live in, man, where everyone just hates everybody and like it's like so divisive. There's one side, there's that side. It's like you can't have opinions anymore. Like the whole cancel culture, like God, it's just a crazy world we live in. It's just like, God, life is too short, man. Respect people, be kind, like be compassionate. Like you can differ from people, differ their views, but it doesn't mean your view is the wrong one or the right one. Like it's just, I just learned that as I've gotten older, like, you know, just being around people. And my wife has been great for me in that sense, because she's brilliantly smart, but like she has a great perspective on things.
How'd you meet your wife?
I met her at a barbecue, actually. So
Johnny Depp's.
Yeah, Johnny Depp's.
Make some other name up.
At the time,
Brad Pitt's bar mitzvah.
She might have been in high school. That would have been kind of weird, but no, we met at a barbecue. She's phenomenal. She was a working, successful actress turned lawyer turned like mother, still lawyer, wants to be a writer. Like she's.
Was it love at first sight?
For me, it was. I tell everyone that. For me, it was love at first sight, and it was also, she will be my wife if I can get her to just freaking like me, like get her to go on a date with me. And I know, and that's how the story goes. We dated, it's a long story. The Cliff Notes version is, I got her number from one of my great girlfriends, Alexis, who I went to school with. She was friends with both of us, kind of separate groups, but she was closer to me. She's like, I got you. I'll give you her number. Like, she was one of the homies. So she did that. Basically, Josie told her, please don't. I'm not, like, this was, her dad had just passed away 4 months prior. So she was obviously in a difficult headspace and didn't want to date, whatever. So anyway, I called her. I literally, no text. I called her. I left a voicemail. I'll never forget. She said that was one of the things that was like, oh, wow, he actually called me and then just text me, like, which, you know, was just, that was actually something that she was like, all right, I'm going to call this guy back. Anyway, we talked for hours. We ended up going on a date 2 weeks later. We went on 4 incredible dates. After the 4th date, she ended it with me. I'm not ready to date, blah, blah, blah. I was like heartbroken inside. Heartbroken. But I didn't let her see that. I was like, well, like, listen, like, this is something we got going. It's great. Like at least let's be friends. Like, I was going to be out of sight. I just didn't want to be out of mind. So I threw her a little text every once in a while, kind of keep it going, see if there was anything that, hey, maybe you want to hang out again. Anyway, we ended up hanging out again. She finally, the story goes, she finally told me, she's like, what am I freaking doing, man? Like, I like this guy. She had her guards up, obviously. So she put her guard down, and the rest is history, man. But I knew, I knew, and I have no shame. Like, I saw her, I'm like, I'm going to marry that girl if she ever if she ever just gives me a chance, and she finally gave me a chance. It was freaking hard, man. I'll tell you that. But,
so you had 4 dates, then you had a turnover, but you recovered.
Dude, I had a like Texas, dude. I lost the national title. I lost it, but I recovered, man. I recovered.
Some drives, it sounds like, are
maybe there was some penalties, so I got a chance. I got
That's right.
Like,
but there was a flag on the play, and that's right. That was I was a 12th man on the field.
But she says, she's like, babe, like, if we wouldn't have worked out if it would have went another way, probably. It was all meant to be the way, excuse me, the way it happened, and kind of the journey and the path we went on. It wasn't easy, but it was great. And we've been through a lot, man. We've been through, obviously, parents passing away. We have 2 kids together, a lot of family stuff. Like, she's incredible, an incredible woman, an incredible mom, incredible wife, all of those things. So very lucky.
As you start thinking about legacy now, and obviously you're still young, but it's interesting as we get older and start thinking about the future. What do you really want your kids to know? Like, is there something that's like, you mentioned respect earlier, which is awesome, but are there some things you really are passionate about your kids, instilling this in your kids?
Yeah, I mean, I think like it's strange. Well, it's not strange, but it's like I have a 15-year-old, so my parenting advice and what I want for him is different than how I view my 2-year-old and my 9-month-old. Obviously, y'all want kind of the same thing as, they grow up, but I find myself like with my 15-year-old, respect. He's at that age, accountability, like the whole adage, and it's a cliche, like, hey, if you work for something, you can achieve it. Like, I just like, I said, like, you need to be the hardest. And again, this comes from my experience in the NFL and my lack of probably not putting in as much as I should have. And then getting, I don't say suffering the consequences, but like, that's what I got out of it. I didn't play as long as I could have. So like, I'm just a firm believer, man. Like you work and you work and you work as hard as you can. It's something that you love. And for him, it's basketball, it's football, but it's also like academics. I tell him, like, dude, like, you need to put in that, man. Like, that's just as important, because sports are not guaranteed, and it is really hard. And he's a great athlete. It is really hard to make it. So like with him, respect, accountability is a big thing. Like, be accountable, be on time. When your teacher wants to call you at 3:00 on Monday, be on the phone at 2:55. Those are all things that football taught me that I love. That's why I love football. Because it teaches you preparation, accountability, respect, drive, determination, work ethic, all of those things. So that's the stuff I want to instill in him, and I'm pushing him every day. Respecting women, especially like always respecting women, loving, and all those, and being kind, compassionate. All things that I learned. Learned some things that I was probably lacking, and some things that I was good at. With my babies, it's like, for us, we're just trying all of those same things, but like, life is so short, man. And my wife's motto, and she's Cuban, and they speak Spanish, so they're always like, enjoy los momenticos, which is moments, right? Enjoy the moments. Losing her father, losing my mom, we've lost nephews, like we've had a lot of tragedy in the family. So it's always enjoying the moments with your family, as I'm sure you enjoy, but it's like being present and enjoying that. And that's something that I've really tried to get better at, and get off my phone and like, scroll Twitter while my 2-year-old's like, dad. Like, it's a conscious effort, which is sad to say, but it's also like, put your phone down, man, and enjoy that moment, because it's gone. Like tomorrow is not guaranteed. Like, time is like it's not guaranteed. Like it's priceless. You know what I mean? So it's like I'm really trying to do that, and even with my older one, but it's really just those moments. And so those are things like like teaching that him, but being present, making sure they feel loved. Confidence is something, like you and I, man, probably lacked a lot of confidence growing up because of being bullied. Like, having self-confidence in who you are. I have 3 boys, so as a young man and as a young boy, and those are all things that I will do my absolute best as their father to instill in them.
So what's next? So you're hosting a show, or you're a commentator, is the technical side, right?
I'm an analyst.
Okay, so you analyze NFL.
College.
Oh, they do NFL.
Thanks for watching, dude. Appreciate it.
Bro, are you on Pac-12 Network?
I am a college football analyst on Fox, baby, on Fox.
Okay, just making sure.
No, so we have our big noon kickoff show, which is awesome. I'm glad you tune in every Saturday morning.
I tune in every time, man.
I'm with Reggie, my former teammate, Brady Quinn, my former nemesis.
That's right.
Bob Stoops, my former coach who recruited me, who I love. I love him.
My mom loves Bob Stoops. She's a big Spurrier fan, so she loves Stoops.
Yeah, Stoops was his guy. Or he was Spurrier. Stoops was his guy in Florida. Rob Stone, our fearless host, who's one of my best friends. We have a great show, man. So that's a lot of travel, cover college football. Get a chance to go to some pretty. It's funny, man. People always ask me about football. I'm like, I never tailgated a college. I mean, we don't tailgate now, but I never went to really a college football game outside of playing. My first NFL game I went to outside of playing was Rams Cardinals division game like a month ago.
Really?
The very first one I've ever went to.
Ooh, sorry.
I went to a Super Bowl. That was a little different.
Sorry,
I really didn't watch the game, but I actually watched that game.
Wow.
I was like, I've never sat in the stands at a game and watched it. It was just pretty. People are like, really? I'm like, nah. I was always playing, and then when I retired, I just had no desire to do that.
It's like work, right?
Yeah, and then in college, it's awesome because we get to go. So now it's like, dude, I get to go to the Big House, and you get to watch OU Texas and be at the Cotton Bowl, and dude. Here's the thing. I always tell everyone, I loved football. I said I love football, and it was a great sport and all that, and it opened up so many opportunities for me, and I love my job. I love my job. I love the people I work with. It was great because I got lucky, but I found kind of a new passion for me to get to talk about the game, but also just be a part of what we're doing and building at Fox with our show, man. It is I'm really lucky. I'm really, really lucky. I just love it, man. It's fun.
So next, do you have an idea? Next 10, 20? I mean, do you want to keep analyzing college football? Is that like,
I just feel like it's more where I fit, obviously with my career and,
I just know if you have any other dormant, I've always wanted to try this because it's interesting with athletes.
I mean, I could talk NFL. I've done some NFL stuff.
I just meant beyond that because you talk to athletes and it's interesting when you have so much life compressed into such a short amount of time. And then afterwards, you're like, oh, now it's you're in this gridiron for so long, and it's do you want to go into? Is it more business ventures? Do you want to? I mean, is there anything you're I'd love to? Are you going to play pickleball? Yeah,
pickleball. My boy's trying to get me to play that. I'm like, dude, I got a bad hit, man.
Not for long. We'll get that fixed,
man. my sports days, I think, are over.
No.
Yeah, so this whole NIL space in collegiate sports is wild, and I think it's long overdue. I'm a huge advocate for players earning money on their NIL name, image, likeness. I can only imagine, I always laugh and people are like, God, I wonder how much you guys would have made back in the day.
Oh my gosh.
Maybe more than we made professionally. Who knows? With some of the deals that are out there right now. So, but yeah, I feel like, I've really, when this all became legalized, essentially, I got hit up by a lot of different people. Hey, do this, or hey, do this. And I really feel and felt like I want to be kind of like a voice for the players and someone that's on their side. It's hey, I don't want you to get taken advantage of. A lot of kids, I always say, they'll take the low hanging fruit now. They'll take the $5,000 to sign 200 things, but in the time they're devaluing their name, they're devaluing their brand. They don't know. They've never had money in their life. Hell yeah, 10 grand, 5 grand. That's awesome. Well, look at the big picture, look at things. So, I've teamed up with a couple great companies, that I love. One's called the Bobblehead, which is a great company, and it's very self-explanatory. Players can create their own bobblehead. They can sell it, all those things. It's just a really cool thing. But another thing is this NFT space. And the NFT space is wild. It's something that I every day I wrap my head around, where is this going? But actually a mutual friend and one of my close buddies, Greg Carlson, built this NFT platform called Hall of Goats, which I think the name is absolutely sick and the logo is sick. Check it out. But it's basically, the ever shifting world of social media and branding, right? That's like these players are now branding themselves and have these massive followings and presence from high school, like before they even step foot in a college football field or an arena or swimming, whatever sport you want to play in college. So this whole NFT world and what the Hall of Goats does, and what I think is really cool about it, is it allows these kids to kind of brand themselves and build their brand in the digital world, right? Like the metaverse and all of these places that I'm still thinking like, how does this exist? Like people are spending millions of dollars in this thing, but they are, and that's kind of the way this world is trending. So I think the whole NFT thing is really cool, and the difference and really what Hall of Goats kind of creates is it allows player A or player B to create that, but also kind of ever evolving and ever changing, building their NFT, and their NFT evolves. So like a lot of NFTs, it's like digital art, right? So a lot of NFTs can be like, and for sports can be like a trading card style. So like, here's my trading card I just bought. I'm just going to sell that, and make my royalty, make my money, and that's it. But the difference between kind of what we're doing is it's an avatar, a 2D avatar that evolves into a 3D avatar over time if you accomplish certain milestones on and off the field. So for instance, Ryan, if you're playing center, right? If you make freshman All-American, that avatar or that NFT morphs into a different thing. So it allows you to constantly rebrand yourself, which I think is really fascinating. And different than what a lot of other, I think, NFT spaces are doing in the sports world right now. So that's a company that I've aligned myself with, one, because one of my closest friends, that's his thing, and he's one of our friends, but he's awesome and just loves it and very passionate about that. And two, I'm all about these players making the NFL or professional sport is nearly impossible. It just is. It's you could be great, but like to actually make it and have success and financially be able to take care of your family forever and all of those things, it is really freaking hard, man. Like I don't know the percent, but it's like less than 1% of high school football players make it to the NFL. I don't care if you're a 5-star or whatever. So what are different ways where these kids, and I'm talking in a football sense, but it really doesn't matter what sport, what are different ways where these young student athletes can build a social media, digital, this digital brand in this different world? They don't need to necessarily be, Matt Leinart, a top quarterback recruit that has a good following in his name. Like they can be whoever, because they can build themselves and create their unique following through their branding, through Hall of Goats and this whole NFT world, which is still like it's mind-boggling. I was explaining to someone the other day, and they're like, "Wait, what is this?" I'm like, "I'll just send you some articles, and you just got to read." It's like it's really fascinating. So
you're letting these recruits take ownership of their careers at a very early age, because even like you mentioned, like less than 1%. That's not even counting too that you get to the NFL, injuries, whatever. I mean, just like you got to maximize opportunity, right? Because even after the NFL, you don't know how long if you're going to be taken care of, right?
Well, there's so many like. And that's the concern I have with the NIL, and that's part of the reason why I want to work with people who just like, let's look through like, hey, let's give this kid $10,000 to do this one appearance. Now that's going to exist, and that's good money for kids, and there's like that's great. Don't get me wrong, but at the same time, like think outside the box, think strategically, think about like, okay, like I told before NIL, I'd sent out a tweet, said, hey, if anyone has any questions about this, like DM me, and I got like I'm not kidding, like 1,000 random student athletes hit me up all across, and I was like, oh my god, I feel bad, like I can't, I don't, like I respond as many as possible. And like one of the things I kept thinking was like most of you aren't going to make it professionally in your sport, and they know that. Build your brand, build your social media following, whatever, if it's TikToks, like people love that stuff, man. Like if you can create great content and you can be funny, you can do things, like it's not for everybody, but that's an easy way where you don't have to be an All-American on the field to have that crazy following off the field. So like the whole NFT thing and Hall of Goats, we're trying to give those players that platform. It's like, hey, this is you control this, like you have ownership of this. Like like you build your following and you build all that, and you can and you also hit your milestones in your sport. By the way, that's more money that's going to be in your pocket that you're creating yourself. Like we're not doing that for you. We're giving you the platform to do that. So I think that's really cool.
When does it launch?
Soon. I mean, we could talk to our boy. It's soon.
What would you say to Greg if he was here right now?
I would say, Greg, come out over here and come join the podcast.
We say that because Greg actually is in the back room of the bus right now, camping with us silently there.
So I want to pump Greg. So Greg Carlson was, we were boys before we went to USC. He was a receiver at USC. We were roommates for a couple years, and just a total nerd, like just tech savvy, and I mean that in a great way, just like tech savvy. And then after college, I just build apps, like software development, like virtual like all of these things. It's just his world, and not mine. Clearly not mine. But really, really smart. Played college football. Gets it. Understands. Like was a part of the teams and was an important piece to those teams. So played at the highest level in college. So he and I both had the same, like, dude, I want these kids to make money, man. I do, but I want them to do it in the right way where they're building something too that's long term, and they're not just, like I said, they're not just like getting approached to do like this weird like one-off thing that's going to put like $5,000 in their pocket. But because when you do that, you really are, you're kind of saturating yourself and saying like, oh, well, Ryan, hey, it only costs $5,000 to get him to do this. Like, whereas like then you start balling, you're like, all of a sudden it's like, dude, your value goes up. So
it's actually $5,500 is my
$5,500
for birthday available for birthday parties.
What's your go-to move at a birthday party? Like if I'm selling my kid's having a 1-year-old birthday.
1-year-olds are tough because they're not really aware of
magic.
Yeah, so 1-year-olds are not really cognizant of my appearance there, but I do really good with teenagers because we both resent authority, like to sleep a lot and eat a lot of snacks. I'm the cool uncle that really it's like your dad doesn't understand, but I do. Like, your 15-year-old kind of be like, dude, this dad doesn't get it. I was like, bro, I know. Dude, your dad's like, dude, he lost being cool when I left SC, all right? So I get it. I totally understand. So I actually want an opinion on this. Do you think should college athletes be able to earn money?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think there needs to be some and there will. There needs to be some regulation. I just think this is the thing that I'm learning daily, and everyone's learning is like every state policy and legislation is different. Every school policy is different. Some schools don't give two shits. Like, go do. I mean, now it all has to be. You can't pay for play, and you can't use certain things to recruit players. That's pretty universal. But there's like, it's the wild, wild west. It really is, and people are trying to figure out just like kind of what works, what doesn't, what are we allowed to do, what are we not. Can you talk to players? Can you not? Do you talk to the school? No, keep me out of it. Schools can't broker deals for players. So there's a lot of that, which rightfully so, because it's brand new. I think it'll become very normal in a couple years. It'll be more regulated. I think people will kind of understand how it all works. But right now it's kind of a crapshoot. And you have agencies calling every player. You have and again, we're doing things like that, but we want to come as the approach of like, dude, we want you to be a part of this forever, man. We want you to build your brand, and we want you to do so. There's different, kind of perspectives on what people are doing and how they're approaching teams and players and all that. But I'm all for it. I always thought like the Olympic athletes, right? And like women's basketball and women's volleyball,
they make money for the university.
Student athlete should be able to make money because the school is making money off of them. Now, some are making more than others, clearly, but like you should at least have that opportunity. And now they do. And I always thought like the Olympic athletes, like some of the best athletes in the world couldn't make a dime from probably $1 million sponsors because they were a college athlete. I was like, I felt like that was so unfair. And I had felt that way even in college. Like, that sucks, man. Like, this is like, they're representing the U.S. They're in the Olympics. Like, they could have 3 or 4 endorsement deals, but they're not allowed to. And the minute they touch that money, they're suspended from NCAA, from their sport. Like it was so dumb, man. So I'm happy. Long overdue. Regulation needs to obviously it'll evolve, and the policies will kind of be cemented, but it's good. I think it's good.
Well, I know our time is precious, as you pointed out earlier, and I think you probably have a karaoke night with Nick Lachey to get to. But last question: how pumped are you for Lincoln Riley?
How pumped are you for Lincoln Riley?
Well, since you and I
something tells me you're like a little schoolboy, just like, I'm so excited.
Well, let me tell you, it's been a rough patch.
It has
for USC. I've been trying to get a hold of Aunt Lori, and she's not called me back yet. I realized I did SC wrong. I paid full tuition to go there.
Yeah.
And so I'm learning I could have gotten in there on a whole host of other things there, but it's such a unique place.
Put that pretty face on a maybe a wrestler or something. And
milk carton.
Yeah, milk carton.
But I mean, SC was an awesome experience. I mean, there is no place like it. I mean, when I was there, I think Spielberg, Lucas, and Coppola all had like kids or family members there. It's just such a there's a Bahrainian prince or something. I mean, it's just so many.
Jerry Bruckheimer used to come to our in our locker room all the time.
It's the most incredible place. And so I'm just, when I heard the announcement, I was like, what a coup! It was amazing.
It's just it's the first time in a decade maybe that like people weren't excited when Pete got hired. He built that, and he built that very fast. Like, Lincoln is a really good coach. He's gonna. I mean, like, has he ever built a program? Like, he didn't. He was handed Oklahoma. They were great. Like so. Yeah. I mean, there's some natural questions, but like, he's a phenomenal coach. And I think he's proven that over the last 4 years at Oklahoma, 5 years. I just think like there's a joy and excitement and like a genuine like enthusiasm. I can't wait to go to the games. I can't wait to like buy my USC sweatshirt. Like, that's been gone for forever, it feels like. And so, and then all of a sudden you see like, all right, we're starting like the transfer portal. Like, we dominated the transfer portal. We're getting some of the biggest recruits here in Southern California, which is what Pete did. We're owning that. That's already happening. We didn't do that over the last 5-6 years. So like, you already see the shifts that need to happen in order for USC to get back. Now you got to go out there, you got to produce, you got to play, you got to develop all those things. But man, I've knew Lincoln. We cover the Big 12, so I've got a chance to know him over the years a little bit, and even just more so since he's been hired. I was at the press conference. I've talked with him. I've been over there. Love the dude. All football, man. Loves football. He's the right guy for this job. He is gonna crush it at USC, and I don't know when he'll win a championship. I hate answering that question, but he will turn that program around very quickly.
I love it. Absolutely love it.
So good, man. It's
Matt,
so good.
Matt Leinart, this is so surreal. From a quiet.
What do you put in your little mug there?
Mug there? Whatever. Well, that's a great segue. A word from our sponsor now. So, if you're like me, you wake up every morning, stare in the mirror, and ask yourself, could I be any cooler? Well, the answer is yes. Unless you're sleeping on the Chili Sleep Uller sleep system, you're probably sleeping hot, hot, hot. And that, as we say, is not cool. The Chili Sleep Uller sleep system hydro-powered temperature-controlled mattress topper keeps your body at optimal temperature so you don't exit REM sleep a second too early. To radically, completely, and utterly change your life for the better, head on over to chilisleep.com/went camping and get a special offer just for our Went Camping listeners. That's chilisleep.com/went camping. Trust me, you're not going to want to sleep on this offer. Well, we're out of time. We've been hanging with Matt Leinart, college football analyst. In case there was any ambiguity earlier.
Appreciate you watching the show every Saturday too.
That's right. Good, well, yeah. I watched you every Saturday for 4 years.
Yeah,
and it was awesome.
It was
awesome. Except for that one season, but we won't talk about that. But that was Vince Young. Your knee was down. We saw it.
Yeah, it was.
So, anyways, thanks for camping with us, Matt.
Appreciate it, man.
Fight on, man.
Fight on.
Thanks for joining us, folks. If you want to help us out, and we're confident you do, go ahead and hit that subscribe button here on our YouTube channel. And if you ever feel like just listening to these, you can check us out on all major podcast streaming platforms by just searching for I Went Camping With. And there, you should also subscribe. Thanks again, folks.